Today, if a baby gets sick, you call a doctor. You have medicine, hospitals, clean water, and Google. But thousands of years ago, you had mud, prayers, animal fat, and your best guess. And somehow, the human race survived. This is how ancient humans actually kept their children alive. Let's start at the very beginning. Birth. In ancient times, childbirth was one of the most dangerous events a woman could face. And for the baby, even more so. In ancient Egypt, women gave birth squatting on special birth bricks, 2 bricks that elevated them while midwives guided the baby out. They rubbed the mother's belly with hippopotamus fat mixed with herbs to speed up labor. Yes, hippo fat. In ancient Rome, the survival of a newborn wasn't even guaranteed by the parents right away. The father had to physically lift the baby from the ground to officially accept it into the family. If he didn't, the baby was abandoned. Harsh? Absolutely. But in a world without enough food, resources, or medicine, families made brutal decisions just to survive. The infant mortality rate in ancient times was staggering. Up to 50% of children died before age 5. Let that sink in. Okay, the baby survived birth. Now what? Feeding. Breastfeeding was the primary source of nutrition, and it was taken very seriously. In ancient Egypt and Greece, wet nurses were highly respected and well-paid professionals. If a mother couldn't produce milk, a wet nurse was hired to feed the child. But what if no wet nurse was available? Ancient people got creative. The Romans and Greeks used animal horns shaped into primitive bottles filled with animal milk, usually goat or donkey milk. Donkey milk, interestingly, was considered the closest to human breast milk in ancient times. And modern science actually backs this up. Donkey milk has a similar protein structure to human milk. In Mesopotamia, clay-feeding vessels shaped like animals with a small spout were found. Basically, the world's first baby bottles, over 3,000 years old. Ancient parents also made early versions of pap, a soft mush of pre-chewed grain, water, and sometimes honey to wean babies off milk. Yes, pre-chewed by the parent, directly into the baby's mouth. It sounds unhygienic, because it was, but it also transferred some of the parent's gut bacteria, which may have actually helped build the infant's immune system. Nature finds a way. Children got sick. A lot. Without antibiotics, without clean water, without vaccines, infections, fevers, and parasites were constant threats. So what did ancient healers do? In ancient Egypt, medical texts called the Ebers Papyrus listed remedies for sick children. One cure for colic was a mixture of fly droppings, plant oil, and herbs rubbed on the child's belly. Did it work? Probably not, but parents were desperate. For teething pain, Roman doctors recommended rubbing the baby's gums with wolf brains or hare brains. Again, logic of the time. But not everything was nonsense. Ancient Greeks used willow bark to reduce fever in children. Willow bark contains salicin, the natural compound that aspirin is based on. Ancient Indians documented in Ayurvedic texts specific herbal treatments for childhood diseases, many of which modern researchers have found to have genuine medicinal properties. And honey, used across almost every ancient civilization for wound healing in children. And modern medicine confirms it. Honey has real antibacterial properties. So, somewhere between wolf brains and willow bark, they were figuring it out. Ancient parents didn't just fear disease, they feared something worse. Evil spirits. Across almost every ancient culture, there was a belief that children, especially newborns, were dangerously vulnerable to supernatural forces. In ancient Egypt, babies wore amulets shaped like the Eye of Horus to ward off evil. In ancient Rome, boys wore a golden locket called a bulla around their neck from birth until they became adults, a protective charm against bad spirits. In ancient Mesopotamia, clay figurines of demons were buried under the floors of homes to protect the children sleeping above. In ancient China, parents sometimes deliberately gave their children ugly nicknames so that evil spirits wouldn't become jealous of a beautiful child and steal them away. It sounds superstitious, But think about what it really was. It was love. Desperate, creative, do-anything love from parents. Here's something that might surprise you. Ancient children actually played. Archaeologists have found dolls in ancient Egyptian tombs, wooden figures with hair made from clay beads dating back over 4,000 years. In ancient Greece and Rome, children played with wooden horses on wheels, spinning tops, and knuckle bones, an early version of dice and jacks combined. In the Indus Valley Civilization, archaeologists found tiny toy carts and whistles shaped like birds, over 4,000 years old. Ancient children also played tag, tug-of-war, and ball games. The need for play is so deeply human that no civilization, no matter how harsh the survival conditions, ever eliminated it. Children always found a way to play. And parents, even in the ancient world, let them. Keeping children alive wasn't just about food and medicine. It was about preparing them for a brutal world. In ancient Sparta, this was taken to an extreme. Boys as young as 7 years old were taken from their families and placed into a brutal military training system called the agoge. They slept on reeds they cut themselves. They were deliberately underfed to teach them to endure hunger. They were tested through physical pain to build mental toughness. By contrast, in ancient Athens, children studied music, philosophy, reading, and mathematics. A more balanced education designed to build thinkers, not just fighters. In ancient Egypt, scribes were among the most valued members of society. Boys selected for scribe school trained for years, writing hieroglyphs, doing mathematics, and studying law. And in almost every ancient civilization, most children didn't go to school at all. They learned by working alongside their parents, farming, crafting, cooking, building. Childhood as we know it, years of just learning and playing, was largely a privilege of the wealthy. For most ancient kids, growing up meant growing up fast. So how did ancient humans actually keep their children alive? With HIPPO FAT and herbal medicine, with wet nurses and clay bottles, with wolf brain remedies and willow bark that actually worked, with amulets, bullae, and ugly nicknames to fool evil spirits, with toys and play, even in the hardest times, and with brutal preparation for an unforgiving world. The tools were primitive, the knowledge was incomplete, the losses were heartbreaking, but the love was exactly the same as it is today. If you found this fascinating, hit like and subscribe, because next time we are diving into how ancient humans dealt with death, disease, and disasters. And trust me, it gets wild.